this is what we could do. We could just hire a family of $50,000 a year to like live with the kid and pay a mortgage. The kid could live in a real house with 2 adults just dedicated to him. We still save money. I mean, there comes a point when you just put the government budget to the test that they just can't explain it. Now, there are a couple of other significant reforms. Welfare. 40% of what we spend in this state is in government is spent on welfare. And some people like this, some people hate this.
Not yet.
If you're on welfare, now under Branstad, what welfare looked like was we paid for everything, gave you food stamps, and you chose between Oprah and Judge Watley. Under Culver, we paid for everything, give you a swipe card, you buy some lottery tickets, go get some food, then go watch Oprah, Judge, whatever Judge is on. Judge Judy, I just found out, makes $45 million a year, so somebody's watching her. Under a narcissist administration, the first question we ask is, who's the daddy? Now, I've said this even on Jan Michelson's show. He comes on WHO in the morning. I've never had somebody call up and say, would you like to come hit it? And see, if I was wearing my pink tie, I'd say it nicer, but I'm not. And they said, what? He said, what? I said, I heard making babies is fun. And if I'm expected to raise the baby, I ought to get the help to make the baby. So who's the daddy? I don't know, because he's got some obligations. We're not just going to have babies being taken care of and nobody knows who the daddy is and they just get away with stuff. Now, the second thing we're going to do, if I was wearing my pink tie, I'd say this nicer, but I'm not. We're going to make folks pee in a cup. Because you don't get to be on welfare and dope, too.
Right.
Okay? You don't have to pee in a cup. See, and when I wear a purple tie, I'm not as mean when I say that either. Now, the other thing we're going to do is make folks work. So we bring back work farms to the county, and we give folks a choice. You can grow food and raise meat at the county farm, or you can volunteer at a school or work at a nonprofit, or you can fill in potholes or work on levees, but you don't get to sit on a couch and do nothing while the rest of us work and pay your bills. You just don't get to. Now, the other thing we do is we do prison reform. We're about to give an Illinois company a $120 million contract to expand our prison system. I said, we got strong backs. Now, one of the things I do is I break up the gang culture. A lot of prison theory says we got to put the Aryan Brotherhood with the Aryan Brotherhood, and the Crips with the Crips, and the Bloods with the Bloods, so they won't riot. And I said, well, what we do is we put them each in their own individual cell. And about 4:30 in the morning, we wake them up. And after they eat breakfast, they begin about a 10 to 12-hour detailed hard labor, working at the prison farm, growing food and raising meat, or working on prison construction, or working on county roads, or planting trees and cleaning waterways. But they don't just get to hang out and do like they did in the Branstad and Culver, which is get ripped, smoke dope, have sex, and learn how to be better criminals. And then they do make some money, and a third of what they earn goes to their victim. I believe in restitution-based justice. If I kill your ox, you get my live ox, I get your dead ox, maybe I throw a barbecue for the neighborhood. I didn't come up with that idea either. Some of you might know where that idea came from. Some of you might. A third of it goes to take care of things like buying winter boots for their kids and maybe fare tickets in the summer. And a third of it goes to help transition them back into society. But they don't just sit around, lift weights, get ripped, have sex, and wreak havoc on society when they get out while they wait to be recidivated. So there are some fundamental changes in the way we do things. So we collapse state bureaucracies. I had a chance to have an hour-long conversation with Governor Branstad on October 28th, and I said, why did you structure state government the way you did? Criminal juvenile justice is in the Department of Human Rights. Then you have Law Enforcement Academy, Public Safety, Public Defense, Corrections. They should be under one roof, Department of Public Safety and Defense. Maybe the individual division heads would answer directly to the governor. Why do we have commerce, economic development? Branstad wants to get rid of economic development. He created it. He created it, should have did a better job creating government, but, you know, Iowa Finance Authority, you know, all those ought to be under one roof. Not only do we save a lot of money, we have better synergy. Now, I talk about restoring operational integrity and operational efficiency. Shut up after this unless there are more questions. But operational integrity and operational efficiency are two different things. We lack operational integrity in state government. What does that mean? How many of you heard of Lynn Walding? Lynn Walding worked for the Alcohol Bureau. His wife's best friend husband got a no-bid contract, and 48 hours later, Lynn Walding wrote $1 million check to him. The governor didn't fire him, but praised him at the time he didn't reappoint him a year and a half later, and then turned around when it got published that this happened, blamed the attorney general saying, well, it's not my fault. Tom Miller told me I couldn't fire him. Now, this is what we talk about in the lack of operational integrity. Now, where we also address operational efficiency, we call an ambulance in Des Moines to go to Fort Dodge, which is a little ways west. And then that ambulance passes the hospital in Fort Dodge with an inmate, comes all the way over to Iowa City, which is not too far from you. And the ambulance comes back to Des Moines. I hope he gets a nice hot meal and gets to hang with the kids. And then he comes back to Iowa City, goes back to Fort Dodge, and then the ambulance comes back to Des Moines. Now that's inefficient. And so we examine every department, division, bureau, program, and state government. We do a time and motion study that examines the efficiencies of our workforce, but we also create a bounty system that says if you help us save money, we'll give you a piece of it. If you help us save $100,000, we'll give you 5 or 10% of it. Give you a great big check, throw you a dinner at Terrace Hill or the historical building. Because instead of punishing whistleblowers, we ought to encourage them to come forward and expose the waste, fraud, abuse, and inefficiencies. So anyway, I don't know if there are any more questions. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just have one. I'm from Illinois, and one of the things that we need to have done over there, and I think we've got a commitment from some of the people to do an audit of state finances to find out where our money's going.
Yes.
So,
oh, here's what a governor can do. The governor has some toys in his toy box. And one of those toys is the ability to audit stuff, to expose stuff. Like over at Davenport North, there were 400 kids who entered the freshman class and 108 graduated. And they said it was this ridiculous graduation figure. But they do the same thing in Des Moines, so it's not exclusive to Davenport. The governor can take and expose that kind of information. A governor can have forensic audits done at the county, state, and local levels, wherever there's state money involved. And then you uncover corruption like the Iowa Association of School Boards, taking $5 million and giving it to a private business ran by a former member as that organization, which just hired friends and relatives, runs them up. So a governor absolutely can initiate those type of things. I've told folks, you know, if I get elected on November 3rd, I'll give an offer of amnesty for folks. You can leave the state before I'm sworn in. We won't come after you. But we're going to need some buses. We're going to need some buses. And the metallurgy industry might be revitalized because we're going to need some handcuffs. Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask a question. How can somebody deposit money in some bank, and the bank's got to be criminal, under their name, when it's school board money, like up in Clinton, over $1 million?
Well, sir, one of the things that got upset with me about is I've been talking for years about them stealing the money. In fact, I said to the head of the union, we've got to stop them from stealing the money. He said, who cares if they steal the money? We'll just go back to the legislature and get more. I've sent materials to members of the legislature. In fact, one of the things that I got threatened over, I exposed a company that was billing us for time that didn't exist. They had a $20 million contract with us. And I exposed that they were billing us for time that literally didn't exist in the universe. It'd be like billing somebody for the 5th of, you know, the fairy day. And you know, The Attorney General got the information, the heads of the legislature got the information. In fact, Pat Murphy and I just got into it about a week ago, because I started asking him education questions. He said I was making stuff up. I said, Pat, I'll go and show you on the state's website. So this is a purple problem. Republicans, Democrats don't want to fix the education system because the teacher unions gives them a lot of votes. Republicans don't want to fix the education system because they fear the teachers union. That's why I said I'll break that organization back over my knee. But right now we've just got a lot of stealing going on in education. I call it stealing because it is stealing. That's why I said when I announced in December that I was considering this, the #1 threat to Iowa, the #1 problem we face is corruption. And we've got to take on corruption or we can't